எதன் கண்ணே நிலையாகி இருந்திடும் எதனின்று அனைத்துலகும் எழுவோமற்றிமையாகும் எதன் எதனாலும் வையமெல்லாம் எழுந்திடும் எல்லாமும் எதுவேயாகும். அதுதானே உளபொருளாம் சத்தியமாம் அச்சுருபம் அகத்தில் வைப்பார். இதயமலர் குகயகமாய் இலகிரையே குஹேசனனையே தப்பட்டோம். நிதமனய குஹேசன் யானென்னும் சோகம் பாவனைகள் என்னுடம்பில் திதமுரு நான் என்னுதிடம் போல் அபியாச பலத்தான தேவாய் நிற்கில். சிதைவுடனான் எனுமவிதை செங்கதிரோன் எதிரிருள் போல் சிதையும் அன்றே. இதயமலர் குகையகமான் இலகிரையே குஹேசனனையே தப்பட்டோம். நிதமனய குஹேசன் யானென்னும் சோகம் பாவனைதான் என்னோடம்பில் திதமுரு நான் என்னும் திடம் போல் அபியாச பலத்தால தேவாய் நிற்கில். சிதைவுடல் நான் எனும் அவிதை செங்கதிரோன் எதிரிருள் போல் சிதையும் அன்றே. Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have come to the next verse in the Abhyasa Prakaranam or Sadhana Prakaranam or Upasana Prakaranam. You can call it Sadhana, Abhyasa or worship of the self. We have come to a very interesting translation by Bhagavan, taken from somewhere closer at home here in Karnataka, from the great one called Anubandham. The interesting fact in Anubandham's times is that what we find in the whole of Hinduism, spread over more than 6 centuries almost, the arising of Advaita in Shankara, then in Madhva the Dvaita, and the Visishta Advaita in Ramananjali. All the three which appeared in different times in Hinduism, spread over many centuries, all appeared together in the Virashaiva branch of Hinduism. All the three types of studies of Advaitam, Dvaitam and Visishta Advaitam were present for sadhakas to take whichever segment they felt suited with, surrender to God and be assured that God will give them the truth. The proponents of the Dvaita were many, of whom I consider the founder himself, Basavana, to be the head. Then for Visishta Advaitam, there is Chenna Basavana, and for Advaitam, there is the studies, teachings of this great one, Allama Prabhu, from whom Bhagavan has selected this verse. From this week on, I think we have completed in a fair sense the meditation on taking self-inquiry for all, connecting the general mainstream of studies to self-inquiry quite well. So we'll be resorting to the Guruvachka Kovai type of meditation on these verses. Also for Ulladu, Narpadu, Anubandham also. So beginning that, I start reading from this verse and try to take us through the meaning of this wonderful verse. Idayamalar Gugaya Ahamai Ilahiraye Guhesanana Yetapatu. There is someone who exists in the heart of all, in the spiritual heart, as I. And that one who exists in the heart of all, or each one, as I, is that one who is worshipped as Guhesan. There is one I which appears in all the heart of each individual as I. Idayamala Gugayahamai Ilagiraye Guhesanana Yatapatu. So the all merge into one in the Hridayam, and therefore it is only one I who is the Guhesa. Now this idea of Ishvara as the I within everyone merging into that single I in the heart, spiritual heart, is there in the second verse of Arunachala Pancharatnam. Arunachala Pancharatnam, all of us are aware, goes somewhat like this. Arul Niraivana Amudakkadale Virikadiral Yavum Vilungum Aruna Giriparamanmave Kidarulappu Nandrai Viri Paridiyai Vidangal. That is the first verse. The second verse is Chittiramam Ikhdellam Semmalaye Ninpale Uddidamai Nindre Udungiduma Nityamum Nanem Hridayam Nadittidavayal Unpe Tanidayam Endriduvar Dham. So that is the Nityamu Nanem Hridayam Nadittidavayal. Who is the one? The Guheshan is the one. Sittirama Ikhtellam Semmalaye Ninpale Uddidamai Nindre Udungiduma Nityamum Nanem Hridayam Nadittidavayal Unpe Tanidayam Endriduvar Dham. So that is where Bhagavan's teachings is reflected by Allama's teachings, that there is one I which exists in the spiritual heart, and that is Guheshan, whom we all worship. And this is the I that we feel directly, but we feel that I is now identified with this body, mind, intellect complex. So, Idayamala Gugai Ahamai Ilahu Iraye Guhesanana Yetapotun. So that is the one I existing in the heart, and hence therefore arising as the I in each being, is indeed the one who is worshipped as Guheshan. So this we had seen in the study of Vastavalaka Stotram from Venkatesh ji about 2 weeks back, when he was reflecting on how that one light appears as many lights in many individuals. So as we go inward, Bhagavan gives us that connection, how that many lights appear in many intellects. Bhagavan says, the bridge there, the granthi there is, when I feel there are many others with whom I am talking to, I should always be self-attentive in understanding who is it that who thinks like this? Who is it that who feels I am talking to many? When that self-attention is there, then the very act of talking to many is changed into the act of talking to oneself. The diamond rule of Bhagavan, that whatever one gives to others, one gives to oneself, is very clear when we understand this level of self-attention. That is called as Eka Jiva Tattva. That there is only one Guheshan. But the Jiva rises out of that, and because of the Chidabhasa nature, it feels there are many. And that how that comes about can be theoretically explained, and it has been done in many teachings. But Bhagavan gives us the practical understanding of it through something called as Eka Jiva Tattva. Whenever someone would ask, don't you feel, Bhagavan, that you have to go and give realization to many people? Don't you feel that they are all suffering from ignorance and that you have to go and give realization to many people? Bhagavan would say to that person that suppose you are sleeping and you have gone to dream, and in that dream which you dreamt, you have seen that many people were sleeping in front of you. Thousands of people were sleeping, and you suddenly you removed your blanket and you sat up in that dream. But then not only did you sit up in that dream, you got out of the dream itself by sitting up and awakening from the dream. Now, having awakened from that dream, will you now feel that I have to go back into that dream and wake up those 1,000 people? Of course, one can make comedy out of that, because one has indeed attempted before to have continuity of dreams from one to another. If somebody had had a good dream, then they may try and expect that that dream would continue in the next day also. But Bhagavan awakens us to this Eka Jiva Tattva so nicely that it is also one layer of dream that we feel there are others. There is only oneself. There is only I. And that is what Allama Prabhu also is going to tell us. That Idayamalar Gugayahamal Ilahum Iraye Guhesanena Etapatto Nidam Anaya Guhesan Yan Ennum Soham Bhavanaitan in Udambil, remaining inside this body, turning inward, not turning outward through the senses, but remaining inside this body, remaining within the bounds of the senses, where others would feel he is bound, clearly understanding that turning inward is freedom, turning outward is bondage. There would be an incident where in Bhagavan's hall there would be a chimney, because in winter they would have that small coal burner or something called that. That is called as kumiti. We call it as kumiti, and that will probably would have raised some smoke. And these people were known to put sambrani also for Bhagavan. So there was a small structure of chimney for that smoke to go out, perhaps. And a small bird went and got trapped in that chimney. And Bhagavan said, see how exactly it is behaving like the normal jiva. That it has gone and got itself in the trap of this chimney and is constantly trying to get to freedom in the wrong direction. Trying to go out where the mesh is covering its journey and it cannot go out. Please someone help him to come out back the way he went. And someone helps and the bird is freed. Not only does Bhagavan free that bird, he frees us all by saying one has to turn inward. If one turns outward, then the three-dimensional world is there. Length is there, breadth is there, height is there. Of course, some say that time is another dimension. But it is all trapped in the dimensional world. If one has to go to a higher dimension, even emotion, one has to go in. There is no emotion in the stone. There is no emotion in the world, but there is emotion inside. Even to go to emotional world, one has to go in. To go to dharmic world, one has to go in. To go to the world of right and wrong, the world of ragas, the world of cause and effect, all these lie inside us. The worlds of ignorance, the higher dimensions, and the highest, the Guheshan himself, beyond all those worlds, they all are to be sought inside. And that's why Bhagavan says here, with the words of Allama Prabhu, in Udambil, do the sadhana inside the body itself. Sadhana to be done, the sadhana is that one Guhesan is I. What Bhagavan has nicely taught us to come through holding our eye, Allama Prabhu tells in the conventional way. He tells, this is the truth. As an experiencer, I am telling you that Shiva, the Guhesha, exists as the one eye in the heart lotus. So that one eye is me. Hold that meditation. Hold that meditation, instruction of the Allama Prabhu, the great one. So Bhagavan practically takes us there by making us do Atma Vicharam. But we can say that it is the suggestion by Allama Prabhu introduces some element of Atma Vicharam into conventional meditation by giving the direction, the instruction that the Guhesha, the goal of this meditation, is already present in you and in the spiritual heart. What is the bhavana asking us to hold? He is asking us to hold the bhavana that Guhesha is I. Soham. Soham bhavana is what he wants us to hold. Nidam urum nan enum didam pol abhyasa balatal ad devai nirkil. So yadbhavam tadbhavati. If one holds that I am that Guhesha, the great one who is the master of meditation, tells us the sutra by which the meditation gets its strength. The sutra or the formula is that yadbhava tadbhavati. Whatever you think of constantly, that you indeed become. That absorbs you. If you constantly think negative thoughts, you yourself become an epitome of negativity. If you constantly think positive thoughts despite the circumstances, you become an epitome of positivity, and probably the circumstances also drop. But here, the ultimate is given, that the Soham, I am none other than that Guhesan, that one I. Soham bhavayuta kuto varadiya drishtatma nishtatmana. Soham spurtitaya arunachala shiva purno vibhati swayam koham bhavayuta kuto varadiya. Then finally Soham will happen from Arunachala himself, says Bhagavan in our the Ekashloki. But here the Guru wants us to meditate. But how does the meditation take us to the Supreme? It is yadbhava tadbhavati. This is a very important way of stabilizing in the self. That is, there is a popular, one should understand this yadbhavam tadbhavati very, very nicely. Only when the yadbhavam tadbhavati becomes universal, is one able to rest in that bhavana. Let us go through this. Soham reaches completion. The popular concept in one of the major religions that Unless you forgive all others, you will not be able to forgive yourself. Now, in our home, we have both worked on this in different ways. But we have the same conclusion that unless one can forgive everyone else, whatever the real reason one may have for their being wrong, in whatever way, unless one forgives that one also, one will not be able to forgive oneself. It is so clear when we come to Bhagavan that this is truth. Because where does that inability to forgive lie? It lies in us. Therefore, with that inability to forgive, if we try to forgive ourselves, which is the self of all, it will not be able to forgive. So unless one is able to forgive everybody else for whatever they have done, because they are not the doers, so simple, there is no question of forgiving. If one understands nobody is the real doer, then automatically one forgives oneself. But that's not possible. It's not possible unless the yadbhavam tadbhavati is understood, that I really should forgive. Then there should be no comments in the day judgmentally on anything or anybody. Then the total forgiveness for oneself, which is mukti, is already there. Now, for this, Bhagavan would give us a story. Yadbhavam tadbhavati. He would give us a story of Dattatreya Swamigal, who says he has 24 gurus, and one of the gurus, python, dove, all this. One of them is a hunter, and the hunter is chasing a rabbit or something, and he has kept aim. And this great sage, obviously full of the peace that is radiating, and in a moment in which the question could be asked, he asked the hunter, can you just tell me the way to that village? That is where I am going. But the hunter pretends as though he is still aiming for the rabbit. And the sage, who doesn't hurt anyone, he tells us, I took it that I should have that bhavalakshya, that in my atma. That is what the hunter taught me. Irrespective of disturbance, I should keep focused on the goal. So the hunter also became my guru. He says, these 24 are only samples. It means that he considered the whole world to be his guru. That's what Bhagavan says in the talks. Dattatreya Swamigal considered the whole world to be his guru, his teachers. Therefore, he became Loka Guru. Yadbhavam tadbhavati. Only when we understand whole world is the Guhesan, whole world is the I, is one able to effortlessly rest inward. If you use one strand of intellect to judge anyone, cannot forgive yourself, you cannot treat everyone as your guru, you cannot treat everyone as human beings, you cannot treat everyone as the divine. Unless you treat everyone as something, you don't have a right to have that something as your title. That is not yours to have effortlessly. That is the teaching here, that when Soham of the Guhesan is held, how Didam, Nidam, every movement and with strength, spiritual strength, Abhyasam, Sadhana is done, then we become the Devam, we become identified with the Guhesan. Ad-Devai Nirkil. First, as told in the Dakshinamurti Stotram, in Dakshinamurti Stotram, this is told in reverse order. If you attain self-realization, Ishwaratva will be given to you automatically. Not only the Ashtamahasiddhis, Ishwaratva also will be given to you. And someone asks in the talks, what? In Dakshinamurti Stotram they say, Ashtamahas will be given. Will they get those? Bhagavan says, first they let them teach Ishwaratva, which was told there. Then they will know what these Ashtamahasiddhis are. So, here Allama Prabhu joins Shankara and reveals himself to be the Advaita. and says that you can stand as the Ekar Ishvara. Devai Nirkil. When Soham Bhavana said Yadbhavam Tadbhavati, we identified with that single eye in the Hridaya Kamalam, in the heart lotus. Absolutely no doubt that one will merge with that. Nirkil, when one meditates within, turning inward, and has this Soham Bhavana, and like the Guru Dattatreya has shown us that everyone is the Guhesha. One need not open the eyes to see where is Guhesha. The very act of seeing Guhesha within, the eye within, is the same point where we see everything as that Guhesha. There are the two movements is gone. The two is gone. There is only one movement, this movement, and there is only one being, that is Guhesha. What happens if we stand as that Guhesha, which itself solves everything? But Allama Prabhu goes ahead and brings us to pure Advaitam and says that Nirkil Chidayudalna Yenamavidai Senkadiro Edirulko Pandre. Chidayudalna, this perishable body. Now, if you are the Guhesha, which is the perishable body, the entire cosmos which is changing, all the lokas, many people say, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, they say 14 lokas are there, this Guhesha is beyond all that. And all the 14 lokas should be taken as perishable. Chidayudal means that body which is perishable, is not I. Enam avidde, that is ignorance. Whether you are Ishvara or whether you are Jiva, if you identify with the body, it is aviddai. Isha Jivayor Veshadhipita Satsvabhavato Vastu Kevalam Veshahanataha Swatma Darshanam Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupataha Atma Samstitihi Swatma Darshanam Atma Nirdvayad Atma Nishtata. Whether you are Ishvara or whether you are Jiva, the rule is the same for Bhagavan Prabhu. If you are identified with the body and you feel you are doing some work like speaking, acting, going, coming, walking, then you are the Jiva. If you feel you are, no, I have become such a Siddha and all the Ashtama Siddhis are there and I am the one behind this whole rising of this and that, this and all that, then also that is avidya. He say, Allama Prabhu, even if it is Ishvara or even if it is the Jiva, the same rule applies. That Isha Jivayor Veshadhibida Satsvabhavato Vastu Kevalam Veshahanata. Both have to drop their Vesha. The perishable body is the Vesha, which is seen through the Upadi. And the Guru is such a Mahaguru, Allama and Bhagavan, that they reach Ishwaratva and then they teach themselves. No, even if we come here, the same rule applies. Their rule, the rule thought of by Kant applies to this world. The rule thought of by Allama Prabhu and Bhagavan, it applies to the whole cosmos and to the Ishvara who is in charge of the whole cosmos. That is why they are universal rule. If Kant's rule has some validity, it has great validity in forming rules for this world. But they hesitate to go beyond that. These are the great ones who go up to Ishwaratva, Guhesha. And they say, even if you are Guhesha, if you identify with the body, that is avidya. So, Isha Jivayor, Vesha, the Vesha, there are maybe differences, but it is still Vesha only. If you are the Prime Minister of India or if you are the fellow who is putting chapati one plate over another, it is the same rule. Even if you are the same chapati fellow doing this side to that side, or the Ishvara sitting in Kailasha, and if you feel you are doing something, that is avidya. So, but what happens if the Guheshan alone is, if someone holds that Soham, Ishvara is Ishvara because he has held that till then. And our Guru is saying, Sadguru is saying, Bhagavan is saying, hold that till, through Allama Prabhu, till that I stand alone. There is nothing else apart from it. It is now stand alone. It is in absolute solitude, with nothing else to give duality. It alone is. No nonsense, no non-self. All vanishes, he says. How the avidya vanishes? Chidayudal nan enum avidya senkadiron edirul por. When the sun rises in all its brightness and redness and fieriness, how the darkness just vanishes out of existence. Like that, our identification with this false body, which is perishable, happens like that in an instance, says Allama Prabhu. And Bhagavan translates this great one for us to show that Bhagavan's teachings is not only in tune with traditional Vedanta, but much more than that. It permeates the whole of Indian consciousness. It permeates the whole of world consciousness. It permeates the whole of all consciousness everywhere. Because Bhagavan has identified with Ishwaratva, and in Upadesha Saram he designs that universal rule, which even if you get doing five karmas of creation, maintenance, destruction, veiling, and giving mukti, all the five have to be dropped in favor of the standalone I. The Panchamukha Darshanam become Ekamukha Darshanam as I. Guheshanane etat pattu nidam ahaya nidam anaya guhesanyam enum soham bhavanedam innudambil tidam urupnan enum didam pol abhyasa balatal adevai nirkil sidai udalna enum avidai senkadiron edirul pol sidayam andre. That moment itself, this avidya of attachment to the perishable body vanishes. That is the great Upadesham, and once and for all, removal of any kind of doubt, any kind of illness, any kind of misery, just thrashing it out of existence. That is the greatness of these gurus, the great ones who have walked this great land of, makes us so happy to be, so humble to be listening to their words. What have we done to deserve to listen to these gems from these great ones, the Allama Prabhu and our own Bhagavan, the great one. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Meditation for 15 minutes today we'll keep. So slowly from here we will keep the meditation segment a bit more, and because now practice we have come, from practice it will become Anubhava. We should actually go to Anubhava. Having come to this group, nothing short of that should happen. So let us extend the practice session from 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will have the summing up by Revathi will set the time for 15 minutes. Alam? More Narpadu.
Namo Ramanasramam. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. And this is what is today's shloka was. The verse is about today's verse. We have where we say that Bhagavan is the Guheshan shining in all beings. Bhagavan has said, Ariyadi itaraha jiva Ariyadi itara jiva radhavarija guhayil Arivai Rami Paramatman Arunachala Ramanan. So Bhagavan says he is that self, and very beautifully with so much of passion, I would say, the love which springs from that Anubhava. Nandakumarji told us about the sun of the self, which actually dispels all darkness. And Bhagavan says, Arul Niraivana Amuda Kadale Viri Kadiral Yavum Virungum. Actually, you have swallowed everything. Recently, G. Kameshwar was giving a Hindi translation of this, a gist of this verse. And so while mentioning that, he said, Virungum means swallowed. That means nothing else remains. It has all been swallowed. Virungum, when Bhagavan says, it means nothing else is there. It has all been completely swallowed by that light. And Allama Prabhu, of course, earlier also I have shared the story of Bhagavan has narrated a parable of Allama Prabhu, which is always very touching for us, which shows also very clearly the need to go beyond the Sarveshwaratva and the beyond Sarveshwaratva at different levels. Because we feel actually, in a sense, we are all Ishwaras, because we feel we are creating our thoughts, we feel we are sustaining our thoughts, we feel we can drop our thoughts, we feel we have control. Sometimes when it goes out of control, we may wonder what happened to the Ishwaratva, but then we call it our thoughts. So in the internal world, we are the Ishwaras who are creating our own experiences. Within, as I was listening to Nandakumarji's earlier talk on Anubandham also, there he says the world is inside, the world inside us, each one of us is an Ishvara. And that Ishvaratva has to be transcended, because the I thought is an Ishvara at its level. It is the Ishvara of its own world. It is Ambika, my sister Ambika, she works with a methodology called Theatre Arts for Holistic Development. And she has many activities through which she brings home the understanding of the philosophy of the theatre arts. There is one exercise which she calls the Super King or Super Queen activity. In that activity, however many of us are participating, that one person will become the Super King. And the problems will be posed to that person. The person has to answer. Then another person will get a turn. And when talking about that, she says, in each one of our lives, we are the central figure. We are the super king or super queen. We are the heroine or the hero. If it's a movie, this life is a movie for us. We are the hero for each one. For each one. That means that because of the Supreme being equally manifest everywhere, without any partiality, each one can feel that supremeness. But there is as Bhagavan has said, there is that limitation. At every level, there is a limitation. So in this story which Bhagavan narrates of Allama Prabhu and another yogi, Goraknath, he says, the yogi had reached a point where his body could not be touched. It could not be burnt. It could not be cut. Nothing could happen to the body. Through some herbal and yogic practices, he had reached that state. And so when Allama Prabhu comes to him, apparently, you see, there is great grace. When somebody reaches any point in sadhana where one is stuck, that Guhesha, out of great grace, allows them to transcend it. Somehow or other, some experience will happen where one will recognize the limitation of that particular sadhana. When there is sincerity, that's why Bhagavan says, Irundane madanturum vida vida uruvai. When that sincerity must have been there in that Gorakhnath. So that's why Allama Prabhu comes to his ashrama and Gorakhnath says, oh, you greetings to you. And Allama Prabhu says, what greetings will I give to one who is considering the body to be to the truth? This, what he calls that the perishable body. If you say the perishable body is the truth, what greetings will I give to you? Is it? So this Gorakhnath says, you can cut my body and see, you can try to cut my body. It's not possible. Allama Prabhu tries that. But then Allama Prabhu tells him very sweetly, now you can cut my body. You can cut my body. And when Gorakhnath tries, Bhagavan says that the sword passed through him as if he was only the sky. So this point we have also taken in our dance drama, where we say that Bhagavan keeps on telling us there is only one choice to be made. That choice is to abide in the self. And the protagonist of the ballet says, I will make a selfish choice. Bhagavan says, then you will have to suffer. Then I will make an unselfish good choice. Then also you will have to suffer. I will not make any choices. I will allow life to make choices. Then also you have to suffer. I will remain detached. Then this story is given. Gorakhnath may be standing for a position of detachment where he cannot be touched by anything. Internally, we may be in a position of detachment, which in the earlier verses, Nandakumarji has pointed out to us, Sakshi. So the Ishvara is the Sarva Sakshi. But if there is a bhava of being an Ishvara, if there is a Sakshi bhava, then one still has to transcend that. Adi Shankara, I forget the name of the shloka in which he says, which is also oft quoted by my sister. She say, in that he asks, Shambhor loke shasito va tatah kim. Even if you are the ruler of the world of Shankara, of Shambho, of Shiva, what of it if you are not abiding in the self? If you are not abiding in the self, then even if you are the ruler of Shivaloka, that means even if you are Shiva himself, even if you are Guhesha himself, that's what when Nandakumarji was telling us with so much of force today, that verse I remembered. I often would wonder, even if you are the ruler of Shivaloka, Adi Shankara says, Tata Kim, what of it if you are not abiding steadily in the self? So that is the uncompromising stand to which Bhagavan takes us. And as Nandakumarji also sweetly said, it is an uncompromising stand. Yes, sir?
Is it Guru Ashtakam, Mukha?
It is not. Tatah Kim comes in Guru Ashtakam also.
But this is not what you are.
This is not Guru Ashtakam. I tried to look for the Aka's reference to it. It is something else in which he negates the supremacy of all other than abidance in the self. In which one of the things mentioned is even if you are the ruler of the world of Shiva himself. So many, that is, you may have great dispassion, because some people have great dispassion by temperament. Some people are fearless by temperament. They may be fearless. So when looking at them, we think, oh, wonderful, they are so fearless. Or we think they are so compassionate, they are so loving. But then Vishwanatha Swami told my father once, he said, remember, Natarajan sir, even compassion can be a hurdle in your Atma Sadhana. So my father shared it with me. He said, he told me, even compassion can be a hurdle in Atma Sadhana. So I was internalizing on that. That is, if I feel that I am compassionate, if I feel that I am detached, if I feel that I am fearless, if I feel that I am a Sakshi, up to that point, if I feel that I am Shambho, if I feel that I am powerful, and we can apply it within in our self-inquiry at every point of time. When a thought arises, Bhagavan says, don't think you are the Ishvara, question. Question and get back to the self. Don't think you are the Ishvara to whom this thought belongs, over which you have control, which you can drop or pick up, or to which you are attached if you wish to, but question. So at every moment, like today he said, when Nandakumarji said about the Ekajiva Vada, Ekajiva Tattva, and very often it tells us about the Yugapat Shrishti also, that every moment that Ekajiva, unless you understand the Ekajiva, there cannot be real compassion. There cannot be real love. There is always, if something is other than you, what love can you have actually? You cannot have. But we think we know, we think we love, we think so many things we think. But Bhagavan is very, very, very gentle. He doesn't negate anything. And without negating anything, he quietly keeps on reaffirming the truth. Because yat bhavo tad bhavati. Because by Bhagavan, I've heard some teachers say, don't even tell if a child is making a mistake in the pronunciation. Say a child is mispronouncing a word, and don't tell the child, you are saying this is wrong, but only give the correct pronunciation. Just keep giving the correct pronunciation, because if you repeat even once the wrong thing, that gets affirmed. So Bhagavan never says this is wrong. He doesn't say this is wrong, don't do this, don't do it. No, he keeps on giving that which is the truth, so that yat bhavam tad bhavati. By just listening to that again and again, so that we can imbibe it. And what grace of His that He has allowed us to meditate on it also again and again through these classes, through the practice. What further can we ask from Him? Om Namo Bhagavate Sri.
Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Namo Ramana.
Ramananjali, Ramananjali, Ramananjali.